It's Friday, Coach. Bring it in with me and you. How's it going?
Playoff time, baby.
It is, in fact, playoff time. And if the playoffs are anything like what the play-in games were, particularly that Lakers Warriors game, woo, boy. I mean, and that, you East Coast and you got to stay up till whatever time. I don't even know how I went to bed, 2:00 in the morning, whenever the hell it ended. Like, your juices are just like, I can't believe what's happening. Imagine playing in that game.
So I want to take a timeout. I'm allotted 3, I believe. So this is 1. And just let's take a look at where we are. Okay. I watched the game last night. I was watching the NBA game, but the hockey game was on. And the Lightning didn't have a lot of masked fans, but had a lot of fans. But our area is doing really well. Erica Vanstone tweeted yesterday. She said she wanted an ugly cry because she tweeted a Philadelphia article that had 50% less infections like 4 weeks in a row. And so I'm not all suggesting we're out of it yet. I'm still being super careful. I did go to my first ever indoor lunch since last March in a place where I figured if you're going, you're vaccinated. But if I go to markets, whatever, I'm wearing a mask. But we're moving along. And so now we're not going to have 0 fans in any gym that so far in any arena. We're not going to have sellouts either, I don't think. But we've made it. We haven't had any player die. It's a real concern of mine and yours, I know. A few have had serious issues. I think the sickest one was the Nasir Little from Portland. Tatum's had to recover from it, but at least he's been playing NBA basketball and recovering, not home almost on his deathbed. So thank goodness for Biden coming in and regional people taking over. We have a chance to have a really exciting playoffs here, Jarod.
Yeah.
and the Knicks are in their face. The Knicks are
and Devin mentioned that 15,000 fans will be at Square Garden for the Knicks opening playoff rounds. And as Knicks fans know, and as the city of New York knows, it's been 10 years since they last went to the playoffs. And even though it's not quite sellout capacity, because sellout's about 18 and change, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be so loud and insane in that building. So kudos to Knicks fans. And again, yes, Coach, you're right. We are slowly moving our way out of it. Let's not get crazy yet. Like you, I'm still masked up everywhere I go, even though I'm fully vaccinated. But it looks like we're getting to a point where things are going to start looking nice again. So I'm excited about that. We did mention playoffs. I titled this episode Pressure Bust Pipes because that is what the playoffs is, man. It is a pressure cooker. Judy, let's talk about one of the favorites, the Utah Jazz.
The Utah Jazz have dominated the regular season from start to finish. They have the league's best record, and according to Dunks and Threes, the best adjusted net rating, which is as good a title predictor as any metric. The Jazz outscore opponents by 15.3 points per 100 possessions with Rudy Gobert on the floor, and are outscored by 1.8 with him off. Star guard Donovan Mitchell has been out almost a month recovering from an ankle injury, and the number 2 player on the team, based on estimated plus-minus, Mike Conley, has been in and out of the lineup. How have the Jazz maintained in a season where teams have cratered due to injury? Because their best player has played in all but 1 game so far this season. It's Gobert. I know, it was hard for me to believe at first, but it's undeniable. The Stifle Tower is on his way to earning his 3rd Defensive Player of the Year award. He is at or near the top of every advanced defensive metric. You may prefer a defender that can switch 1 through 5 like the stellar Ben Simmons, but he isn't the sun at the center of the Sixers universe, the way Rudy is for the Jazz. On offense, it's easier to understand the value Mitchell, Conley, Bogdanovich, and Ingles bring to the Jazz. They have the ball in their hands. Rudy leads the league in effective field goal percentage and is 3rd in true shooting percentage. He's devastating in the pick and roll, draws a ton of fouls, and is a beast on the offensive glass. The fear of a Gobert dunk off a lob sucks a defender in a step or 2 beneath the 3-point arc, and that's all Utah's 3-point assassins need to convert. Rudy doesn't play like Jokic or Embiid, and he cries and he gets picked last in All-Star games. But the Jazz have been the best team all season, and it's because their best and most important player has been healthy and available.
So I have a good time with my buddy who does some assistant AAU coaching up here in New York City, and he used to coach Donovan Mitchell. And so he loves when I bring this stuff up. He's like, why are you always coming at Donovan? I'm like, I'm not coming at Donovan. I'm just saying Rudy's better. That's all. It's not saying that Donovan's bad. But that we always have a good laugh with that. But really, when you watch what Utah does, Coach, he is the center of everything for them on both ends of the floor, right? Center, of course, by position, but also, from the heliocentric standpoint, right? Like everything revolves off of what he does. And it's really incredible to watch. And The Athletic had a piece out today from their beat writer, Tony Jones, about Rudy, and Rudy knowing that, look, the postseason is where he's going to have to make his mark, right? If he wants to start getting that quote unquote respect, it's going to have to be in the postseason where he steps up and does it on the biggest stage. But what he's done this season on both ends has been phenomenal.
I could talk for hours about the Utah Jazz and Rudy Gobert, but I first want to say I give you tremendous credit. First of all, great video. These video series, I'm really glad you're doing it. I listened to a podcast yesterday with two guys that are my age, Rob Lowe and Andrew McCarthy, actors from the Brat Pack. Mm-hmm. Andrew McCarthy wrote a book. They were in a bunch of movies that I loved back when I was 19 years old. And McCarthy doesn't really act anymore. And part of it was, I just don't think he was very comfortable with close-ups and everything else. So, Jarod, you go to that close-up of your face at the end of these videos. Man, I don't want anyone looking at my face. I would never be able to be on a big screen. Put me on a small screen, a thumbnail, I'm good. I don't need anyone looking at my face that way. So you were raised well because you are a confident young man. And not that young anymore, I know. I thought it was great. Your point is exactly right. Donovan Mitchell's amazing. And they need him to win a championship for sure. But they'd be nothing without Rudy. They'd be good. They'd be fine. Maybe not even a playoff team. Like, he is that important. Now, if you replace him with another starting level center, then they'd be an 8 seed or a 7 seed because they're good. You said something super smart in there too. You had a lot of things, but the offensive glass thing, when he's in the game, I don't even know what his offensive rebound rate is because they always make sure they block him out. He's 7'12". Okay. It's easy to block out. To go block out the gigantic man. But he still makes effort and he keeps balls alive. They don't kill the glass because they're so spread out with their shooting, but they make you work. So you have to work to chase their shooters. You have to work to keep them off the glass, him especially. It wears you down. That's why they have an elite offense and of course, we know what he does on defense. And people keep saying, Philly fans, let me be clear. It's Philly fans who are saying this. Mm-hmm. It's got to be Ben Simmons Defense Player of the Year because he switches so much. Have you watched Rudy Gobert guards? I have. He does good. Yeah. Okay. He does it normally. Why would you make him go guards when he can control the rim the way he does? But on late possessions, they will let him switch because he knows he's got the clock to his advantage. So I have him as my second team All-NBA center, as I did last week. I understand the argument for Embiid, but they are very intriguing right now. We'll go through our playoff series in a little bit because Donovan Mitchell's been out for a while, and they still have the number one net rating over the last 15 games. That's extraordinary. Yep. I don't mean number one, what you showed on the video. I mean, just in the last 15 games, they're still the best team without their best scorer, their second best player. So I think they can run through this playoffs. When I say run through, 6 or 7 games, maybe in a couple series, but they're that good. Yeah. If they got to play well. Yep. You have to do it. Paper doesn't matter. They're not blowing through Brooklyn, by the way. If Brooklyn gets to the finals, they should be the favorite. Yeah. I'm not sure you should favor them necessarily against Philly. We'll see how they do. But if you get past the East, well, that means you figure something out. Barring injury, I understand why you favor them. It means those 3 guys have done enough, and then defensively they figure it out. But so we'll go through our playoff rounds in a minute here. Yep. Henry gave us his picks too.
Right before we play Jazz, Coach, the first this playoff schedules come out. I know it was a concern for ours. What's the schedule going to look like? At least through the first 4 games, you're playing every 2 days. So you're getting 2 days off, which is nice. But once you get past around game 4 or 5, it goes to every other, which is generally what they've done in the postseason in the past.
When you say it is like they have in the past?
Yeah.
That's my memory too. Yeah. It never made sense to me. You get more rest early than you do later.
Yeah. It's like
they've had a week, which is good, except for the 7-8 seeds, and that's the tax they pay for being a 7-8 seed. But yeah, it's going to be, I think the first round is going to be interesting. All right, so let's play some jazz.
Let's do it.
So right on the NBA, I would let you, Judy, I would ask you to play the video, but we'll be crying. So I'm just going to describe it. It's Utah Jazz players. The team, and I'm assuming it's the owner, is granted a scholarship for every win they had this year, which was 52. And so this tweet that you can go to Utah Jazz and see it. It's players calling, I'm guessing Salt Lake City young people from underrepresented groups, they call it. This is what their words are. Getting full 4-year scholarship, books, tuition, room, everything, every fee. They're going to go to school for free, and seeing these young people react to knowing they're going to school for nothing, and seeing the looks of the face of these players is so awesome. It makes me tear up. I also know some players on the team, and I've not even asked them about it because I don't want to talk about it with the playoffs coming. But what a thrill it must be to give them that. And good for you, Mr. Smith, for being the leader of that. I'm just going to say this because I know we're not limited to 90 seconds. I have been in the room, Jarod, at meals where big time donors at schools like Alabama and Florida for football, they have told me, and Ohio State, I had a meal with Archie Griffin. I had multiple dinners with Archie Griffin or lunches. Ohio State, former Heisman Trophy winner twice.
Yep.
He told me first the secret to raising money. He's their chief fundraiser. The way you do it is you got to get one guy to write the check and then let him use peer pressure, literally.
Yeah.
And so I heard that story and I talked to a guy from the Gators. He's dead now. Big, they call him Bull Gators, big booster. And they want to hire Steve Spurrier. And he said, let me tell you, coach, how we did it. He said, a guy named Leonard Levy, famous guy in Tampa, wrote $1 million check, put it on the table. There was like 12 other donors there at a lunch place in Tampa, named Donatello's. He's all right, boys, there's my $1 million because he was at Duke and you had to buy him out. Ante up. Let's go. Ante up. So I want to see Mr. Smith from the Jazz do the same thing. Hey, we just got 52 scholarships, 52 players. Ante up, owners. Let's do this right now. That's how you start using your leverage and your power to influence other people who don't want to give that money up for whatever reason. And they can do other things too. This is the start. Who's against scholarships?
Right.
Use scholarships first, and then you go after bigger fish. That's what I think.
I loved it. I thought it was great, Coach. Everything you said is right on. And yes, there's nothing like millionaire and billionaire peer pressure to get them their buddies to do things.
Yeah.
And just from the student standpoint, again, I cannot stress the importance and the what it means to be able to go to college and graduate, and when you leave, have nothing on your back in terms of debt regarding school to pay. That is such a huge leg up and advantage that I can't even explain in words and quantify, because you'll be able to do what you want to do and not what you have to do. And your path to home ownership and, the quote unquote American dream, much easier than if I owe $250,000 plus interest and whatever else is the situation. So that is kudos to the Utah Jazz for doing that. All right. So some of you may know last summer, the Nicole Hannah-Jones, the incredible investigative journalist of the New York Times, did the 1619 Project, 1619, of course, being the first date that a slave ship touched shores on what is now the United States of America. And it has really, it has sort of had groundswell of support, and everyone knows it and it's everywhere. They want to bring it to schools as curriculum. Now, of course, you have people on the right who are not thrilled about that and who are pushing back at it at every possible turn. Nicole Hannah-Jones has a position at the University of North Carolina at the School of Journalism. And one of the things that the journalism professors and the tenure board decided was she takes this position, we're going to offer her tenure. Now, I just want to be clear about something. When you're talking about the business school or the journalism school and even the law school, you're able to get tenure on a different track than you would if you're doing the normal traditional academic route, where you have to literally do all the publications and all, right? These schools allow it to be done a little bit differently because of the nature of business and journalism and law schools, right? Okay, so that aside. Tenure board and all the faculty from the journalism school agreed unanimously, 100%, let's do it, tenure. It got up before the board of trustees. The board of trustees at the University of North Carolina said, yeah, no, we're not doing that. And that was largely because the University of North Carolina board of trustees are old white conservative men, right? Who are part of this, culture that don't want the 1619 Project to have the platform that it has because it paints people like them in a bad light, right? But that is America's sort of like shame and problem, right? Our original sin is slavery, but it's sort of like that idea, Coach, where, we've talked about the saying we've all heard, it isn't the first lie that gets you in trouble, right? It's the compounding lies to cover up the initial, right? That's what is the problem. And that's where we are. Not only do we have the original sin of slavery, we don't want to confront it and to keep putting out history that, oh no, it really wasn't that bad. Abraham Lincoln came along and, Emancipation Proclamation, life was cool pretty much after then, which we all know nothing could be further from the truth. And I think that, Nicole will still do the job down there at North Carolina, but the fact that she didn't get tenure and the fight that is happening from the right wing to keep critical race theory out of schools is dangerous, because now what we're doing is not only do the victors control history, they're controlling the law to prevent truth from being told. And it's a dangerous situation to be in.
Do you know when she first got hired there?
I do not.
I think it was very recent.
It is recent. I do know it was recent.
Yeah, because I told you off air, the person asked to be the liaison between her and the school is the godmother for my twins.
Okay.
Susan Lee. Yeah, Susan Lee's I think at one point she was the only female Black publisher in America. She ran the Happy Valley newspaper when the Joe Paterno things were going down on the business side, not the editorial side. And then she ran the Delaware paper when Biden was in office and everything. And she's a fabulous person, her and her husband. So she's real close to Nicole. And I haven't talked to Susan since this came out. I'll talk to her today. She's like family to me. It is disturbing, to say the least. Just to finish the point, because it's way more important than anything we're talking about today on basketball. You've heard me say culture eats strategy for breakfast. Mm-hmm. I didn't make that up. I quoted it. It is not the Republicans' strategy to deny, it's in the culture. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the strategy is secondary. And whatever we may want to do strategically doesn't matter if that's the culture. It's affecting the January 6th thing. Of course, they don't want to have a commission investigating the insurrection on January 6th. Mm-hmm. The culture is, if it happened, hey, it's America. We're blessed by God. Therefore, it couldn't be so bad. Let's just move along here and deal with whatever terrible things are happening, mostly perpetrated in their minds by Black and brown people. That's pretty much how they are. That's their culture. This is right in line with everything they've been doing for quite a while now. And I made a Facebook post about this exact article today. I did the Times one, same as you. Unless we speak up and get loud about it, it's nothing. The culture is not going to change. Like I said, you're not going to beat it with strategy.
Right. You
got to change the culture. And that takes loud voices. So protests and everything else. Don't even get me started on what happened in Louisiana.
Oh.
That's worse than anything we've ever seen. Right? When they tell a family, oh, he got in a car accident.
Yeah.
And the coroner said, what are the tasers still in his back?
Right. Yeah.
Like, this is the most egregious crime I think I can ever remember, because it was covered up. The crime enough was horrendous, and now it's covered up too. And they don't want to talk about it. So yeah, don't get me started any more than that. All right. So Paul George came out, bless his heart, and he's in a different place now mentally. I think he is a symbol for our athletes in the bubble last year. And when no one is saying the bubble was like a concentration camp or a prison or anything like that. But the truth is, I had players in the bubble. It wasn't easy. In fact, I would argue it was very hard. A lot of us were stuck at home with our families, the people we chose, in my case, to spend the rest of my life with, in a home that I really like very much, and I have a lot of space, and it's all mine. And these guys were in a hotel, separate from their families for the most part, at a time when the calendar was crazy with the Black Lives, with the George Floyd situation, everything else. I'm not blaming Black Lives Matter for anything. The crimes that were committed to Black people caused lots of stress and marches and everything else. And I don't know what's going to happen this year in the bubble. In the games, not to Paul George, not to the teams. I'm hoping that it's just a much more enjoyable experience altogether.
Yeah.
Right. these players have done a great job for us as entertainers with their bodies, with their minds, and everything else. And I'll be honest, I don't normally root for players like Paul George. He has enough people rooting for him. I root for the bad player just so he can get a contract. Man, am I rooting for Paul George. I want him to be amazing. Yeah. I really do. I think he's incredible. He's had some bad luck, and I'm rooting like hell for him.
Yeah, it's again, kudos to Paul George for just, being upfront, honest, and speaking about these things. We always say we want our athletes to be upfront, emotional, and honest with us, and then when they are, we kill them for it, right? It's like this weird thing that fandom does. I want them to have a good playoffs too, mainly because, I know how NBA Twitter works, and I'm telling you, the tweets are already in draft mode, and everybody is waiting for the Clippers and Paul George to be terrible to hit tweet and put out all the memes and all the terrible things. They can't wait. So I'm hoping he has a good playoff run and is able to quiet all that noise. All right, Judy. The next link I have up is a tweet, and it was about the ratings around the NBA play-in game.
I saw this,
and they were phenomenal. The Lakers Warriors averaged 6.9 million viewers at one point, which is the best NBA game that they've had all season. And I know Adam Silver is, 5.6, excuse me. Adam Silver is sitting, in his offices in Midtown Manhattan, and he's like, yeah, this is what we want, guys. And I'm telling you, whether or not you like the play in or didn't, or it doesn't matter. With that number you got, that 5.6, that is the metric that they care about. That's all you need to know. There will be more play-in going forward. This is here to stay. It isn't going anywhere. Now, it also helped that the play-in had two of the biggest stars in the league, right? That's a big part of it. We can't guarantee that every season. We don't know who it might be.
But you saw the ratings of the first game, right?
Yes. Also good.
Like 2 million plus, wasn't it?
Yes.
And they didn't have LeBron and Curry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it'll be good, and it's because of what Henry talks about, right? It is the game 7 feel and the randomness, right? Anything can happen. It's like, well, we have to win this game. Or in Charlotte's case, apparently they didn't know they had a game that night, because I don't know where they were. They were like, oh, you got to win this game to continue, and they lost and went home. But I thought it was great, and I love the play-in, and it'll be great to see moving forward how the league tweaks it. And I love your idea, Coach, about don't make it so that a team that's like 10 games behind can play. You got to be within a certain amount, and if you are, let's roll with it.
And to me, if you are, the more the merrier. If there's 8 teams within 5 games of the 8th seed, playoff with the 8. Let's whatever. Let's find ways to do that.
Do a single elimination with the that'll be crazy.
Just give yourself a chance. I think it'd be even more fun.
Yeah.
Caleb with the line of all time. I don't want to read it. You read it.
I love it. I was so no one wanted to watch all those woke, whiny black people. Well, what's funny about that, Caleb? The people who say, "Well, I don't watch the NBA." Listen, you don't watch it regardless. So that isn't those people just like to talk and make noise out in the internet. Like they're whatever.
I had forgotten that those people existed. They're not really in my wheelhouse anyway. But I remember now when he wrote that these motherfuckers who are saying that they claim they're not watching the NFL either. Whatever, like. Are you really that self-important that you think that we give a fuck what you're going to watch and why? Exactly. Jeez. All right. So my last one today, which is going to take us into, I think, our playoff preview when you get your third one, is I don't know what to make of the Nets and Lakers. So Jarod, you'll see Henry and I on Monday. I did Zach Lowe's pod this morning. So when you hear this, anyone that's listening later, it should be out. So I have all these notes. I've got pages and pages of notes, and I shared them all with Henry because he wanted to see them. I don't write a whole lot about the Nets and Lakers series because there's no data that matters. I wrote plenty of things about what I think might happen and all of that. We have never had a playoff that I can remember. I've covered the league since 2007, been watching it since 1980 closely. I don't ever remember a playoff where we've got the 2 best seeds are Utah, small city, and then Philadelphia. But the 2 most interesting teams are the Nets and the Lakers. And so just to read you a couple of things, the Nets are a 2 seed, very good. Lakers 7 seed, not so good. So, quote, 6 of the 8 last champions have been number 1 seeds in their respective conferences. And then it goes on. This article that I found says Utah was healthy. They had 140 games missed, which was good, but they lost 5.8 wins above replacement players because Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley missed a lot. So they missed 39 of 40 games. The 5.8, that's the key number. The Lakers lost 11.2 with Anthony and LeBron. The Nets, more than that. We don't know. They barely played together. I don't know what to make of it. It makes the first rounds more intriguing, not because I think necessarily in the Nets case, the games will be all that competitive. It could be. It's more important with the Celtics. What do they look like going forward? Because I hope that when the Lakers play with the Suns, that should be a great series. I don't know what to expect. I don't know how healthy they are. The timing and all of that, we'll get into a little bit. But the Nets, to me, I told Zach, it's my most intriguing series of all because I just have no idea what to expect. No idea. Well, I know one thing. They can really score / not defend. I do not think they care about defense. I watched a bunch of tape. Though their weak side awareness is high school level. But I don't think it mattered. Now it matters. They're not just going to outscore you. They're going to have to play some defense. They're capable of it. They're going to be, to me, they're going to be, I can't wait to watch them more than anyone else just to see what they do on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I'm with you there, and we'll get into it. I think for them, the regular season has been so interesting, right? In many ways, it has been a lab where they've been experimenting, right? Now, you know what the saying is, necessity is the mother of invention, right? Well, when you don't have your star players and you have to figure out ways to roll out lineups to win games, this is what, and it's been a lot for a first-year head coach to sort of figure out what he's doing with this soup when he's got a mixed mash of ingredients in his cupboard. And I think it will be telling what all of those lessons you learn from the regular season, how can you apply them in the postseason when those guys are here now and all healthy and playing, right? And for them to be able to get to the 2 seed with all the missed time, pretty good, but that's also why you have 3 guys, right? Three main guys. So for most of the season, they at least had one of them on the floor, right? And that is what's been able to sustain them. But it will be interesting. And the Lakers, I'll get to them when I talk about it in my preview. All right, last one for me related to this. Kyrie Irving, Ian O'Connor used to be at ESPN, back with the Post now. Wrote an interesting piece about Kyrie Irving, the most misunderstood player in sports. And Kyrie is such an interesting figure. He's, people like to use the word enigma, and I don't want to say that he's an enigma. I think that what we as human beings like is we like boxes and we like categories. Tables, chairs, lamps, we need to put things into categories because it makes it easy for us in our brain to explain what it is that we're talking about. The problem with him is we can't put him into any box, right? It's like, and that's where the frustration I think comes from for the average person. Yes, he's this brilliant artist basketball player, but he seems to have so many other things in his mind, in his life that he thinks and cares about. And I think that part makes him confounding to people. But I just think he, like anybody else, is someone who's very curious about the world around him. And I know recently, on one of our post-game Zoom conference calls, they had won the game, and what the first question that was asked was Kyrie about the game, and he's like, honestly, basketball isn't the most important thing right now. And he went into talking about the Israel-Palestine conflict and what's going on in the world. And as you mentioned last week, Coach, those things in the world weigh on him heavily, and you can see it. But like any other talented person, he's able to compartmentalize. And you can see it because when he's on the floor and he's playing, he is certainly focused and locked in on whatever the job is at hand. I mean, he's 50, 40, 90 this year for the first time in his career, having literally his best season ever. But I think once that ends, the reality of life is like, oh, there's all this other stuff also happening here. And I think, again, that is, but that's like all of us, right? Like, how are you a citizen of the world if you are not aware and paying attention to literally all the injustices and things that happen all around you 24/7? And if you're not, and you're like, you only care about yourself. Well, I venture to say you are part of the problem, right? Like, you're the reason why we are in the circumstance we're in, because we don't do enough of thinking and caring about others and those around us.
When I think of Kyrie, as I read this piece, and I agree with you, he's probably third team All NBA. I mean, he's had a phenomenal season, and not so easy when you play with James and Durant for the first time, and they're in and out so much. I think you know the joke a little bit. Our partner Judy referenced me once like as being like Ted Lasso. And after having seen 2 shows now, I think what she meant, and we talked a little bit, is you pretty much always see a pleasant energy from me. I don't share my negative energy. I have it, but I don't need to share it. I'm happy to be vulnerable, but everyone who knows me knows. You guys all know I wear my emotions on my sleeve. But it only comes from, but that doesn't make me better than Kyrie, just different. The world's more interesting that he's more open. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I'm not a professional basketball player. So I can control things much better than he can. I can always turn the media off. He really can't. And they always want to hear what I have to say anyway. It's more interesting that we have all these different kinds of characters. Life would be boring if everyone was like me, that's for sure. And quite frankly, it'd be a little more dour if everyone was like Kyrie. That he isn't so complicated. There are complicated people in the world. That doesn't make him complicated, right? He is wearing that on his sleeve, so to speak. He's allowed to be. What's the big deal? I think it makes it more interesting. And I think you put it perfectly. We all have to put that aside in our jobs as parents, as in my case, as a spouse, and in our workplace. No one can accuse him of not doing that. Right. Now, he's missed some games. Good for him. You played enough. You played enough games already. The way the season is. I never have heard players talk more about a season, the grind, than this year. Yep. They are acknowledging that it has been hard. Mm-hmm. And he needed to take a little mental health days. It might have just been to go hang out with his kids. Yeah. It doesn't mean he was always weighing the weight of the world on his shoulders each time. So I tell you what, I'm not rooting for the Brooklyn Nets to win. I love the city, by the way, and if they won, they'd be fine. But if they were to win, it would be sweet salvation for him. I would like to see him with a second trophy.
No doubt.
I wouldn't be upset one bit.
All right, let's get into some playoff talk, Coach. And I think let's start with what I think is the most intriguing series, Lakers Suns.
Wow. You're not alone, I don't think. How are most people picking it? I don't really know yet.
Most people are like, oh, the Suns, too bad you had such a great regular season. You're playing the Lakers in round 1. And there is truth in that, right? You have to play a team that is coming off a championship with the best player in the world, in LeBron James, and all that other stuff. Coach, I don't know about you, but I watched that. I know you did. I know you watched the game. I didn't walk away leaving that Lakers-Warriors game being like, oh, LeBron and AD look great. No problem. I think they'll be fine in the Phoenix Suns series. LeBron looked kind of old and like weird at times. Like his foot doesn't seem healthy. And I'm not even going to get into the LeBron propaganda about I saw 3 rims and like, okay, forget whatever. I'm not doing that. But that team to me, I am not coming in here saying, oh, look, Lakers in 5. I think Phoenix can present problems for them. I really do. And if LeBron and AD aren't fully 100% healthy, that's problematic for this team because we see when LeBron was off the floor, things weren't looking great. Now, granted, the Suns don't have a Draymond Green to disrupt Anthony Davis. I get it. But, I don't think it's a cakewalk in this first round. I'll tell you my pick after you chime in.
All right, definitely not a cakewalk, but hold on a second. Let me scroll through my Torah for because I didn't know which one you were going to pick first here. I've got notes on this that I think you'll like very much. I'm kind of kidding. I know what I want to say basically, which is the Lakers, we don't know who they are because of injury, but we know their identity. We know they led the league in defense, and they were very consistent all year with that, whether James and AD played or not. Of course, you're right. LeBron didn't look great. And a good half or a good quarter isn't good enough when you're a 7 seed playing a 2 seed, right? They're not overwhelming like they might have been at times last season in the bubble. Phoenix pulled a switcheroo on us this year, Jarod. They started the season really guarding. They ended up with an amazing offense and terrible defense. I looked it up. I tracked it to April 1st, where they started slipping. They were down to 22nd from April 1st to now, 22nd on defense, from April 25th from April 18th to now 25th. And then the last 15 games are 26th in defense. But their offense has exploded, which wasn't the case And so the problem is, Jarod, the Lakers play amazing defense, and that's not going anywhere, which means they've got to guard LA better. Now, did they lose focus because they were winning all these games? I don't know. These are things we can't win on until we watch. We can speculate. All I can do is speculate. I'm worried for Phoenix that they forgot who they are. I'm very big on identity. That's why we picked the Lakers in June of last year. I felt like no one was going to be able to develop an identity in the bubble, but they already had one. They were already busting chops. They were leading the league in block shots and dunks, and they owned the paint, and they had the dynamic duo. So they still have that. They don't have the dunks anymore, but they have a great defense. They have the dynamic duo who might be healthy enough. I don't know if Phoenix is good enough to win 4 games, but to cakewalk, no. 6, 7 games, probably. I'd probably lean Lakers is what I would do. We get the brooms, Caleb says. I tell you, there's 2 guys that really intrigue me in this series. Andre Drummond started playing defense for them. And I watched them through the process of his games. His energy level was better. He was sliding his feet better. And that normally comes from knowing where you want to be, knowing where you want to go. When you're driving down a road trying to find an address and you're not really sure where the address is, you're not, unless you're an idiot or a teenager, you're not flying. You're under control, right side of the road. Hey, where do I turn here? That's what it's like playing defense when you want to do well, but you're not sure what to do. You're ginger about it. But Drummond started really understanding. That's a game changer because he's good offensively for them. Yep. He doesn't have to play a lot of 5 because Davis they're a monster team with Davis at 5. All right. The second guy that intrigues me is Caruso because they got Chris Paul and Booker, right? So Caruso is a pest and he can really shoot and he's very good in transition. He's not much of a half-court threat except for shooting, but he'll get layups in transition. He's a good finisher. He's an athletic guy that's fast. He can really hound little guards. And as Henry knows this last thing I'll say, if you fast forward a few years, we're going to need more Carusos. Yeah. Because it used to be we're looking for the guys to guard the big 6'9" apex predators, the Durants, LeBrons, and Paul Georges, and all those guys, and Lucas. But as we start getting the super quick little guys that can really shoot and get in the lane, we're going to have to find guys that can close them out really good and then guard them. And Caruso can do that at a high level. Wes Matthews they have. I think the Lakers match up with Phoenix very, very good. And I give the Lakers a small edge because I ain't betting against LeBron. All those other fancy things and all the data I have, I picked against LeBron once when he was with the Cavaliers. I'm not doing that again. They made the finals. I don't care how bad they are in the regular season for Cleveland. I think LeBron is incredible, but it ain't gonna be easy. And if it goes 6 or 7, it's gonna wear him down for the next series. It won't be easy either.
For sure. I think, and the question I asked, which you answered so well, is do the Suns' offensive attack, is it enough to stretch that Lakers defense? Because, man, the point you made is correct. When they are, and that's what they did to the Warriors, especially in that 3rd quarter, they amped up the defense, and my God, like it was just like, Jesus. When they do that, it's problematic. Do you have enough to stretch them? Do your backdoor cuts, do different things to get them a little less tethered on defense? As we know in the playoffs, the margins are thin. So you picked the Lakers how many games? 6?
I normally, you can call it a cop-out if you want. Normally, I'm just not so exacting because how do you know? I always look at 4 or 5 or 6, 7. A 4 or 5 series is a whitewash pretty much. A 6, 7 is freaking fantastic. I have this in my freaking fantastic category. Okay. I think it'd be a great series, 6 or 7, yeah.
Just to be different, I'm going Phoenix Suns in 7. All right.
Just to be clear here, Jarod, I'm a wonderful person. You don't have to be different. We can agree. We can agree. I'm kidding. Yeah, you're not stupid for picking the Suns, that's for sure. Hollinger picked the Suns. He's smart.
Yeah,
boy Johnny's smart.
Why not? Let's stay in the West. Rematch. Clippers Mavericks. You know, my thing with the Mavericks is, and my question is, besides Luka, who on that team do I trust to do things? Now, I know Kristaps is good. Is he going to be healthy this postseason? He seems like he leads the league, as my friend Brian says, in trips to the locker room. It seems like every time it's like, oh, Kristaps, going to the locker room. Who knows what now? Besides Luka, who I'm like, all right, I trust that dude for sure. And I don't have anybody that I'm really like, yeah, I trust him.
Right. Well, you're right. but Luka's good for 2 wins. Like, I have Luka in LeBron category of he's going to win 2 games. I don't know if he'll win 4, but he's going to win 2 with a bunch of Josie and the Pussycats. He's winning 2. Luka's incredible. He ain't LeBron in his prime.
Right.
But compared to the rest of this league right now, he is so good. And I think you nailed it. I just don't know if there's another person. The reason why that's a problem is Batum guards him decently. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, my guy Terrence Mann, Marcus Morris Sr., like they can throw bodies at him. And very importantly, Zach Lowe and I talked about this today. Zach brought it up. They'll attack him the other way.
Yes.
You have to treat him like Steph Curry. You couldn't do that with LeBron. He was just too big, too powerful. He wasn't going to wear down in his prime. Luka isn't LeBron, and he's more like Steph that way. I go at him and try to wear him down. And I think he's good enough to find ways to win 2 games unless the Clippers really play great, which they could do. We haven't seen that. If the Clippers played their best basketball on both ends, they could win this in 4 and 5. I don't know why I would think them to do that. They haven't.
Right.
I keep waiting to hit the stride. They don't do it. If they play badly enough, and I'm telling you, they're not the Nets on defense, and they played better defense down the stretch this season, but it wasn't against Luka.
Right.
It was against all the other average teams out there. I watched a game because I watched a lot of film on this. It was an important part of the game, and they're doing a strong hedge and recover on Luka on a ball screen. And both guys go with the screener, and Luka's wide open for 3. What are you doing? Like, if in my high school team, we're calling a timeout, or I'm throwing a guy off the bench in the locker room. Like, how are you leaving their best player by a wide margin? I'd rather both guys go with him and leave the other guy wide open, but you can't leave Luka. So that's the kind of mistake the Clippers make too much. It worries me. I think they're the better team. I think they'll win, but I think it's going to go 6 or 7 because of their mistakes. And Luka's amazing.
I'm with you. I think Luka can win 2 games, but I don't know that, as I said, his supporting cast not enough. So I like Clippers in 6 in that series. Yes. The West has got chock full of good first round. Blazers and Nuggets. Well, my question here: can the Blazers play enough defense to win this series? That's their thing to me. I know what they're going to do offensively. They're a nightmare with that backcourt, and now with Norm Powell and Carmelo comes off the bench, does his thing. Arco hits some threes. Enes Kanter is Jesus. Like off the bench as a backup center, that dude's a nightmare. But defensively, they are also a nightmare. So I just don't know that they guard enough in this series.
All right, I'm going to read off some numbers here. Ready? Portland finished Henry's going to like this. Portland finished the season, last 15 games, number 1 on offense, 122 points per 100 possessions. That's a phenomenal number for a team, not just a lineup. Anthony Simmons, 47% from 3 last 15 games. All these numbers are last 15. So Simmons 40, Simons 47, CJ 44, Melo 52, Dame 44, of course, Powell 38, Rocco down to 35, but still 35, and Nurk and Kanter can make threes. Kanter doesn't really want to shoot them. Nurk doesn't want to shoot, but they can make them. So they have got this great shooting team. Denver isn't great defensively.
No, they're not.
Michael Porter Jr. is Jamal Murray is the reason why they went to the Western Conference Finals. It wasn't Jokic. Jokic was great. Murray was extra level great, right? Literally making shots as clocks were winding down, where if he doesn't make it, they're done on that possession. And he's not playing. And they're playing a bunch of guys that aren't. I could read you. Dozier may not play. Millsap is 24%. Aaron Gordon 27%. The key, Barton may not play. He's at 25% last 15 games from 3. The key is Jokic and MPJ. Here's my thing on Jokic: 26% from 3 in the last 15 games. That's a problem, because if you have him playing bully ball from the paint against Nurk, that's a wash.
Yes.
I watched tape. Nurk can body him up. He's this enormously big man, and maybe they used to practice against each other back in the Nuggets when they were children, teenagers, and remember some stuff. Like my brother could always beat my brother. It's because I grew up with him and I was always better. So I always knew their stuff. But you get Jokic out on the perimeter, his little shot fake pivot attack game. he has enough momentum to kind of bump you and create space and use that as leverage to get his scoops and the stuff he does. He's much more dynamic in space than he is in the paint against Nurk. And so the series to me is how good does Jokic shoot the ball, which is why I think it's a toss-up series. I'm not ready to bet against him. Blazers offense is incredible. Jokic and MPJ incredible. If MPJ can create with the ball in his hands the way Murray could, that's a bit of a game changer. Aaron Gordon's at 27% on three. They're not going to guard him.
No.
They're going to slough off these guys. Are you going to really guard Austin Rivers? Are you going to go over the top of Austin Rivers and Campazzo? I don't think so. No, you're going to go under and make them make shots. If they make shots, then you'll change up a little bit. But meanwhile, there's a give and take to it. I give the Blazers a slight edge in a 6-7 series.
Yeah, you know me. I'm leaning on my boy MPJ. I'm like,
what a surprise.
In MPJ and Jokic, I trust. Nuggets in 6.
Yeah, not stupid. I'll tell you if I think you're stupid. It's never happened before. You're not stupid. Yeah, the Nuggets can. I love the Nuggets. They can absolutely win this series. Portland's capable of playing pretty bad defense. They don't get back in transition very good. That's a big concern. Turnovers, I worry about a little bit. Fatigue for Damian and CJ. Remember how tired Damian got last year? Yep. I think though I think this might be the year Dame pulls it though.
All right, real quick before we jump to the East, we don't know who the Jazz opponent is yet. Does either? I mean, I think they're going to win against no matter who they play. I get it. Steph could make it more challenging, but I think having to go through this second layer of the play-in will make it harder for whoever comes out, right? That's just an extra game you got to play, and you're not as rested as Utah's been going in. Who does anyone worry you, whether it be Memphis or Golden State playing against Utah in round 1?
Well, I mean, you said it. I mean, Curry is the X factor, but I like the way the Warriors match up. I like the way the Jazz match up with the Warriors. We've talked about Caruso guarding little guys. Royce O'Neal guards little guys really well. Royce O'Neal guards Steph really well. If you called, I'm just going to guess this. If you called or emailed the guys that cover the Warriors on TV and said, who do you think guarded Curry the best this year? I think Royce O'Neal is a name that'll come up. They might have some other names too. He's long and powerful and quick, and he doesn't need to shoot for them. He barely shoots the ball. He is only focused on defense. And it doesn't mean that they'll win every game. I do think it's a 4 or 5 as opposed to a 6 or 7 series. Same with Memphis because of Ja.
Yeah.
And Valanciunas. If Memphis wins, it's because of Valanciunas.
Yep.
23 and 23 the other night. He's amazing. But Gobert is better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't take advantage of that. You can't just play Gobert even if you're Memphis and beat the Jazz unless they shoot terribly almost every game.
Right.
And so I think they match up great with both of these teams. Yeah. And so I would play the Jazz in 4 or 5 either one. So does Henry, by the way.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Jazz, either one of those two teams, 4 or 5, no big deal. All right, move over to the East. We're liking rematches, Coach. Bucks and the Heat rematch. And all the talk is the Bucks are like, we're not ducking anybody. We're not afraid of the Heat. They want this matchup. And so the question I have, are we overrating the Jimmy Butler experience? He didn't play any of the 3 games against the Bucks this year. All losses. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The Bucks went 2-1 against Miami in that series. And are we underrating the addition of Drew Holiday? Of course, what I mean by that is that we know what Jimmy Butler did in the playoffs last year. Postseason Jimmy is a real thing, and we sucked. Drew Holiday played in New Orleans. Like, we don't, again, what he does not visibly jump off the screen when you're watching, unless you watch like how Coach watches, or unless how you watch like me, amateur Coach watches, right? I'm like, oh, that Drew Holiday is real good at doing things. So what's going on in that Bucks Heat series?
Remember now that Miami won game 1 of the series last year. And I only mentioned last year because I think it prevails in Milwaukee's mind now. They could have tried to dodge Miami. I'm glad they didn't, and they didn't. And they think they could beat anyone. Miami isn't worried, right? They think they could beat Milwaukee again too. In game 1, Miami won last year. Big deal. Lakers lost game 1 of their first 2 rounds last year. Okay. And so then swept those first 2 rounds. In game 2, the Heat were up 8 with 2 minutes to play. I rewatched it last night. The Heat were up 8 with like 2 minutes to play. And the game got tied with 2 seconds left. And they threw the ball to Jimmy Butler in the corner, and Giannis fouled him. I thought he fouled him. I don't know what he was doing. Jimmy Butler's not a good shooter, but he ran into him a little bit. And Miami wins the game with those 2 free throws. And I think it destroyed the Bucks for game 3. And then it's over. They won game 4, and then Giannis got hurt in game 3 anyway. They won game 4 without Giannis. So I think Milwaukee's thinking, we don't foul them. We have all the momentum in overtime. We're 1-1. And now momentum on our side would be fine. And then we had a Drew Holiday. And then we had a PJ Tucker. And DiVincenzo is shooting better this year than last year. And we don't have Eric Bledsoe anymore to beat up. Last year, the Bucks shot 32% from 3 against them. Miami shot 37%. It's a big difference in these close margin games. Another thing Milwaukee did this year is, for the first time since Bud's been there, they started switching.
Yep.
They tried other things defensively. It didn't work. They're not as good defensively this year. And they're last in the league in 3-point percentage defense the last 15 games, dead last. And Miami, I have it written down, super hot from 3. Like, it's one of the best things they're doing. They've got, Iguodala shooting 40, Nunn shooting 41, Dragic 46, Duncan Robinson 41, Hero 52.
Woo.
So we got a team that's not guarding the 3 well, and a team stroking it. You would think Miami has the edge. I think Milwaukee's been sandbagging us. I don't think they look at it that way. I think they're just not worried about it. Let's just try different things, see what happens. You were right. They want Miami. How they handle game 1 if they lose, I don't know. To me, that's the most intriguing question. Miami could win game 1. Of course they could. I think Milwaukee's a better team, will win in 6 or 7, but they have to respond to failure better than they did last year and not let it get in their head. They have more options to make plays. Miami's going to build a wall around Giannis when he has the ball, and they're going to flood the paint when he rolls off pick and roll. And they've got a bunch of guys that can make shots, and let's see him do it.
I agree with you. I think Miami, that's how the Bucks are approaching this series. I do think they were sandbagging and using the regular season to experiment and do different things. It's all going to be psychological. To your point, as you said, how do they respond if they get hit in game 1 and lose? Does last year creep into their head and they're like, no, we got this. And Bud, the title of this episode is Pressure Bust Pipes. The playoffs are a pressure cooker. As human beings, we all know this. When we're under duress and pressure, we revert back to what is comfortable and familiar. That's just the nature of how human beings operate. Is Bud going to be like, nah, let's do our tinkering? Or is he going to recall and like, no, let's go back to what we did and what we know works? That'll be a big, and we won't know until it actually happens. I do think the Bucks are better. I mean, I can't express how much of an upgrade Drew Holiday is over Eric Bledsoe in every possible way, literally every way. And that may be enough and may be the difference. I'm agreeing with you, Coach. I think it'll be Bucks in 6.
Just now you sound smarter. I'm just kidding. All right, I want to introduce the next series because of the word you just said, the pressure bust pipes. Because you mentioned a couple guys that have pressure. And we didn't even mention the pressure in the Clippers. Like, I think there's a ton of pressure right there. And we're going to get to another pressure series in a minute when we talk about Ben Simmons in Philly. But I want to talk about the Knicks. Because let me tell you something. They don't go to the free throw line. They really rely on Julius Randle to make plays. DeAndre Hunter is back for the Hawks, and I don't think he can shut him down. I think he can guard him better than what they've had. And New York is shooting lights out. But in the playoffs, I don't know if they will.
Yep.
Julie can't go get his thing, and they just got to make a bunch of threes. They don't score a lot of other ways. Derrick Rose with floaters, whatever. Like, there's going to be a lot of pressure on New York. I have the Hawks winning the series.
Woo! Go with the spice.
Yeah, I think the Hawks are going to win this. I think they're a better team. I think they have more options. New York does some things really well there. People say they're tougher. They're more physical in the way they play. Meanwhile, Clint Capella would be on my 4th-team all-league center. And today Zach Lowe said, well, what about Bam? I'm like, well, give him the power forward. If he's right, I was wrong to not say Bam. But Capella's right there. He's fantastic and killed the Knicks.
Yeah.
The problem is Julius Randle averaged 37 a game on the Hawks, but Hunter didn't play. And Nate McMillan wasn't coaching.
Right.
So I think that it's going to be a great series. I will tell you this. and I say this with all due respect, I know you want to take it personally. My wife and I love New York City. I have a room in my house dedicated to New York City because it means so much to her and I. It really does, for different reasons. I don't give a fuck that the Knicks are in the playoffs. I don't think it makes the playoffs better. I don't care about Madison Square Garden, and I've never talked to a player that did. I don't care about any of that shit. What I care about is they're a good team. Like, I respect their coach. I respect their players. I don't care what the brand name says on the jersey, right? If they play really well and continue to shoot well with all the pressure, and I don't mean New York pressure, I mean just winning pressure.
Yeah.
It's the playoffs. You're exactly right. The Hawks are good. They're a good team.
They are.
And we always talk about the elite players. You and I love to talk about the game's best players. Every fan does too. Here's how you get to be elite, Jarod. You fucking kill in the playoffs.
Yep.
So if Trae Young kills in the playoffs, which he might, he jumps a big status. We're waiting for this. First time we've seen him, right? If Julius Randle outplays everyone, hello. I don't know what's going to happen. I give Atlanta a slight edge in a great series. I don't care that New York goes on or whatever, Boston. They're just teams to me. It's a great series between two good teams, great stories.
Hey, episode, Coach Thorpe says after the Knicks.
Fuck the Knicks. I've been to games in Madison Square Garden. They're like, hey, we're doing whatever.
Coming out.
Boxes and everything.
Thorpe said after the Knicks. No, look, I'm with you, Coach. I love the Knicks defense. Defense, as we know, travels in the postseason. My concern and my question, and you hit it. I worry about them offensively. Do they have enough scoring? Now, you can tell me, but Jarod, the Hawks don't play any defense. So what are you worried about? I'm like, yeah, but they got DeAndre Hunter back and Nate McMillan. As we know, that's a defensive-minded coach. And I will say this. Trae Young, he's the kind of guy, whether he performs well or not, I don't know. That remains to be seen. I know he ain't going to be scared come postseason. That I do know. Because he's the kind of guy that, like, he's got a bit of a Napoleon complex to him, you know? Like, all right, I think I'm small. You guys don't think I'm any good? All right, F you. I'm going to show you how good I am in this postseason. So I have a feeling that the Hawks are going to be good. Nate Millen's a great coach. Tom Thibodeau's excellent coach.
I'm sorry?
But,
let me hear the but.
Oh, no, but. This series is going 7 games. It's a game series, but it's home. Madison Square Garden takes it.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with picking the home team in game 7. All right, so we have 2 minutes for the two not very interesting series. We played this right. The Nets, I mean, Boston's a one-man team.
Right.
I love them. I love Kemba Walker. Kyrie can guard him to some degree. They've got, I don't know who's going to guard Tatum. Tatum might score 50 a game and lose a leg like Mr. Potato Head in game 4. I'd love for Boston to win one game because I think it'll make Brooklyn better. If Boston wins game 1, Brooklyn will be better for round 2 because they're not going to lose. It's not going to be 6 or 7 probably. I want to see Brooklyn begin the process of playing better so that these last couple series are really great, you know?
I'm with you. I agree with you 100%. I think Boston does get a game. Which one? I don't know. But Brooklyn in 5. And then to the Philly series, same thing. I think Westbrook and Embiid got that little spicy thing going back and forth.
Oh, they do?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
They got, Westbrook's got beef with everybody. And, Embiid likes to, do his thing. So that'll get a little spicy. And Brad and or Russ, although Brad's still, the hamstring's tricky.
Yeah.
I think they'll win a game. But Philly defensively and what they do, Embiid's going to be too much for them. They got nothing. So I like Philly in 5 in that series.
The Wizards played bully ball. I wrote about it before this game last night. They scored 78 points, I think, in the paint last night. This is like a match from the 1990s. These are two teams that don't really want to shoot the 3. They want to play inside, not inside, outside. They'd rather – Philly can shoot well. The Wizards are obviously playing great, but Robin Lopez – has had a total resurgence. Daniel Gafford is good, but you're not going to play bully ball against Joel Embiid.
Right.
It's not a great matchup for the Wizards. I think what they did is great. It's a great story. Game 1 is important. If Philly wins game 1, the Wizards kind of lose belief that they can win, for the next 6. Just like I said for Brooklyn, it'd be good for the Wizards to give Philly a game to ratchet up their intensity so that they're better prepared. I think for the last couple series will be tough. So I think it's 4 or 5 in this one.
No doubt. Look, guys, playoffs tomorrow. Actually, well, tonight we got to figure out who does Utah get. I know Coach Thorpe's piece just came out. He favors the Warriors because about a 53% chance to win.
It's a good game.
I got to go with my guy Triple J. You guys know I'm in the tank runs. I'm gonna root for Memphis, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Both of them are gonna be slaughter for the Utah Jazz in round 1. So it's really irrelevant either way. But playoffs start Saturday, guys. Get excited. Have a good weekend. Come ready to rock and roll on Monday with Coach and Henry. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, guys.